I've just completed the first phase of my Volkswagen Caddy conversion to make it the ultimate mountain biking vehicle, and I'm about to share it with you right now. This right here is my 2024 Volkswagen Caddy MK5, which I recently bought after deciding to downsize from a long wheelbase T32 Volkswagen Transporter, which was not only my dream van, but it was also the ultimate mountain bike vehicle. So if my Transporter was so perfect, why did I decide to sell it? Because it had always been a dream of mine to create the ultimate mini mountain bike van. So when this 10-month-old Volkswagen Caddy Commerce Pro in Starlight Blue with only 7,000 miles on the clock came up, I simply could not let the opportunity pass to create the newer mini version of my beloved Transporter. I've had this vehicle for a few months, and after some trial and error with different setups in the back of the van and plenty of online research, I decided it was now time to start this dream build with the overhaul of what is currently a very poorly ply-lined van. Welcome to Mission HQ then. We're going to be spending a fair bit of time here throughout this project, which is very exciting. And before we get things underway, I'm actually just going to give you a little bit of a tour of the back of the van as it is currently. So it has been ply lined, which is awesome, but it's a terrible job. There's lots of gaps at the top. The ply is not really fixed very well. And when you look at the back doors, you can see all the connector blocks and they're all split and it just looks pretty ugly. You'll also notice that I'm having to carry a big light around in the back of the van, and that is because the light doesn't actually work, and even if it did, it is a very small, low powered light. For now, there's not really much more to say. I want to get things underway, and the first thing we need to do is strip the back of the van and give it a good clean. We've got materials coming in the morning, then that way we're going to be nice and ready to start cutting the new ply and fitting all of the new exciting things. Part of my trial and error process with the back of the van was actually to try some pods at an angle in here, and I put this down to mount the pods on just to sort of work out the distance of the bikes, because obviously the van's shorter. I wanted to see how the big bikes with 29-inch wheels were fitting, and the screws have got dirt in and then rounded off, so I'm going to have to hack this annoying piece of wood off of the floor before we remove the floor. Lovely. We've just got the ply off the floor, which is actually quite interesting. So first of all, I guess this van is the same chassis as the one that they use with the seats in the back, so it'd have a side door either side. Now obviously I've only got it on one side, which means there's still a step here, and I noticed how annoying that can be because things keep falling in there and you keep losing everything. So this bit of plastic is just held on with poppers. I'm going to lift that off, and then my ply can finish all the way to the edge of the van. And just like that, we now have a blank canvas ready for all the upgrades that are going to be installed into the back of my Volkswagen Caddy, which is very, very exciting. So with that being said, we're going to call it quits for tonight. I will see you guys in the morning. Day 2, and we now have materials. I've been spending most of the morning taking deliveries, but we're now ready to start installing things into the back of the van, and I guess this is actually a really good point to explain to you guys what we're actually building in this episode. I've thought long and hard about this project, and my plan for this episode is to focus on the rear of the van and provide a perfect canvas for future episodes where we can then focus on bike specific upgrades such as e-bike charging, bike storage, tool storage and everything else that a dream mountain bike van requires. By the end of this episode, I'm hoping to achieve a perfect canvas which will consist of a fully custom ply kit that this time actually fits. That will be finished with 4-way stretch carpet lining, a hard wearing floor and a powerful interior light system. With all that being said, it's now time to run the first build laps of this project where we are going to be installing the floor. Kissed that, did you see that? That literally kissed it on the end there. I decided to go for hex ply on the floor, which is a high quality plywood that is finished with a resin coating, and it is both hard wearing and it looks awesome. The previous plywood had been screwed down, leaving holes in the chassis of my van. So first of all, I decided to fill these holes before sticking the hex ply down, loading the van with weight and then leaving it overnight to see how well it would stick. And the weights overnight have worked absolutely perfect. The floor is nice and flat and it looks absolutely incredible. I do want to mastic around the edges, and I also want to put some trim around the holes in the floor just to cover that up because it looks pretty ugly as it is now. But overall, I'm absolutely stoked with how that's turned out, and the next job is to actually ply the sides and the ceiling, which is quite a big job, so let's get things underway. It can be a tricky job when you are trying to get a precise fit with your plywood, as vans can be a funny shape, which is where I'm actually very lucky I already had a previous ply kit that I could fix in place, then use cardboard to scribe to the edge of the van and eventually attach this to the ply, creating a template that would fill the gaps perfectly. Now that I have the perfect template, it was simply a case of transferring this to my 9mm ply and cutting the shape out. The board is now all cut, and as I went to put it in the van, the bulkhead's basically in the way because I want to put it behind this. So the top of the bulkhead I'm actually going to remove. That's going to then make it easier to do our work in here. Then I can put this back and it'd be all honky-dory. Right, let's get this out of the way and get the ply fitted. We are looking absolutely luxurious in here. In fact, I'd say utterly luxurious. We've had to leave a little bit of a gap because we're going to trim it, so you don't want it like sitting insanely tight. Basically, we're going to fluffy it, and that is going to make it fatter because you put the edges over the top, so you have to actually cut the board a bit shorter, but that fits perfect. We're going to do a different wheel arch so then I can still get to this and access that without having to trim that, which is absolutely spot on. And I've now got to ply this wall and the roof, so I'm going to crack on with that. The roof was the only part of the van that I did not have a previous template for, making this more tricky, so I had to create a full cardboard template as well as figure out lighting positions and, more importantly, how to fix the ply, as there is not actually many places for screwing into, and the last thing that I need is to screw through my roof. I was really taking my time to ensure there was no expensive errors. Last night we was burning the midnight oil, but I've managed to get all the roof in, all the holes are drilled, and that is now absolutely solid. And what I'm doing now is marking out to fit the downlighters, and then that is going to be passed to the trimming department, because then I've got some carpentry work to continue in the back, and then we can get things done at double speed. Not that it's about rushing, it's about doing a good job, but I also do want to get it done because it's very exciting. Let's get the holes drilled then for these lights.
Okay, so we've got some wood now that is ready to be trimmed, which is behind me. So I'm going to start by doing the ceiling. So this colour we've gone for this time is called anthracite. And also, quickly, for anyone interested, it's 10 metres by 2 metres. So we've definitely got more than enough to do the whole van.
Cara's nice and busy in there doing a great job with the trim. I actually spent the rest of yesterday building a new wheel arch cover, which is very bespoke, and the reason for that is because the old one was actually a terrible job. There was massive gaps, you could fit your hand under it at points, and it was actually quite short. There was lots of plastic covers and part of the door lock sticking out, which just looked ugly. So I decided to make a bigger one, tighten the gaps up down the side. It is actually quite big, it's quite tall, but what I'm going to do eventually is put some sort of storage on the side of it so the space won't be wasted, and it just makes it easier because everything is covered up now and it will look tidy once it's been trimmed. But look at that, it's like the side of a kicker ramp where you have to sort of make the curves and bend the ply to it. It took me quite a while to get them curves absolutely perfect, but that is now ready to go to the trimming department. Fresh delivery to the trimming department.
Thank you.
That's quite a tricky one because of the angle, but
Yeah.
I trust that you've got it.
Well, hopefully, I'll give it a go. There we go then, the wheel arch is done, and it was actually a little bit tricky because it is curved and this join was a little bit difficult, but I actually think it looks pretty good. I've got a few more panels left to do now, and Tom is outside doing the electrics, so let's see how he's getting on.
With all of the ply lining complete and the trimming making great progress, it was time for me to have a go at the part of the project I was least looking forward to. The plan was simple: fit 6 12-volt LED downlights, and with the power source from the previous light being right there, it was even more simple, as the only cable work that I had to do was connect the lights together using T-connectors. With this complete and being easier than I expected, it was now time to connect the new lights to the van, which is absolutely terrifying because electrics are my least favourite thing to do. This vehicle is quite new and it has a lot of electrical features, sensors, and just things that doing a simple thing like disconnecting the battery could potentially cause problems. So I'm doing this with my fingers crossed, but we're going to disconnect the battery now, which means we can do the work to the input wire for the lights, check they're all working before we screw the ceiling up. Okay, negative terminal only disconnected. That's what Google's told me I need to do. Let's now go in the back and see about connecting the lights up, and let's just hope that they work first try. This cable then is the power source into the light circuit that we just made. It's where the old lights plugged in. So what I'm going to do is cut that off there. Then we have to strip these wires so they can go into one of the T connectors, which is at the start of that new circuit. It's just woken up. Can you hear that?
Yeah. Oh, it's scary.
I don't like that noise. Hopefully it's a good noise. Hopefully lights are on in the back of the van. I'm going to just tighten this up. Battery's all connected now. This is the moment of truth. Yes.
Oh,
They're working.
look.
They're working. There's obviously, we've got a lot of light coming through at the moment, so you actually can't see how well they're working, but that is really, really good, because that's the one part of this that I was really unsure about, and the fact that it's worked straight away is really good, and it means now that is ready just to screw back up. Everything seemed to be going rather well until Cara decided to start the van. What are we doing, KJ?
Well, I said to you to start the ignition to make sure that disconnecting the batteries not upset the computer system. And what we have come to find is that it is quite upset because there's 8 things that have come up. Stability control, hill start, lane assist, front assist, dynamic road sign, we knew that, tyre pressure loss indicator, electronic parking brake visit workshop. There's quite a few things that have come up, and I think it's just because the battery's been connected, it's confused it. Sometimes you have to let the computer system know by plugging it into a computer, and that can obviously only be done at a workshop. So what we might have to do is, if this doesn't correct itself, get the workshop to fix that. Bit annoying, but at least the lights work.
After turning to Google for help, it seemed the fix might be as simple as driving the vehicle, so we decided not to panic and finish the last jobs in the back of the van. As we started to put everything back together, it was at this point that we could see all of the hard work, and the results were exactly what I envisioned. That has been roughly 4 days of hard graft, which I have enjoyed so much, and I'm really, really excited to be able to share with you now the first phase of my Volkswagen Caddy mountain bike conversion, which is now complete, and I'm going to take you on a little tour. I'm really stoked with how the floors turned out. It's nice not to have that hole in the back corner where things are going to get lost, and the rest of the trim work has actually come out absolutely perfect, which I'm stoked about, because when you're cutting the ply, you have to actually cut it a little bit shorter to account for the thickness of the trim, and it's hard to know exactly how much shorter to do it, but luckily it all went back together really, really smooth. And the advantage of just trimming each panel as opposed to the hole inside the van is the fact that if I do want to remove things to access wires and things like that, then you can just unscrew it and you don't have to cut or ruin any of your hard work. It wasn't all plain sailing though. We did have one hiccup, and that was with the lighting. Actually, 2 things. So first of all, the lights, the original ones that I put in, I changed because they were a warm colour, which I didn't realise, but also they were so dull. They didn't do anything in the back. It looked awful. It was like a dingy, dark corner. So I Amazon primed these bad boys, which are 5,000 Kelvin, so they're more of a natural daylight colour. They were more than 100 lumens brighter, and instead of having to screw into the holes and put the tape around like we did, they have a clip like downlighters would in your kitchen, so they literally just pop in and out, and that's really handy because if I need to change one in the future, I can just unclip it from here, access all the wiring, and that makes life a whole load easier. The other issue that we had with the electrics is when I connected the battery again, we had all the warning lights come up. That was actually such a simple fix. I just went for a quick drive and everything reset itself, and there's no lights now on the dashboard, which is awesome. This is the part where your input is now valuable, because right here we have got the perfect blank canvas. However, the next episode is where we make it mountain bike friendly. We have to make secure bike storage, e-bike charging, space for all the gear, space for tools and suitcases and bags for when we go away on long filming trips. And I want to know your ideas. Have you had a Caddy before? Have you seen a cool one online which you've taken inspiration from? I know I've done my research, but it's always good to get your input because that could really help to decide the next steps for episode number 2. With that being said, please leave your comments with your ideas down below. Unfortunately, that is all we've got time for today. If you've enjoyed this one, please give us a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the next one.
I'm like an addict, do I gotta have it. I ain't even playing, got a really bad habit. If it moves, gotta grab it, fuse like a magnet. Lose, won't have it till I'm doomed in a casket. I ain't playing, got a weird mind. If you work 8 hours, I'ma work 9. If the shit tastes sour, you should taste mine. I'ma stay in power for a long time. Get up, nah, I ain't a